Meet Cry, the ultimate couch potato in a world of treasure hunters. He was supposed to be living the high life, but all he's good for is binge watching and dodging death. His friends, they used to talk big, now they're just trying to survive. And Cry, he's basically the poster child for good for nothing, aiming to retire before his body does it for him. The story begins in a small village where 6 friends dream of becoming treasure hunters. They believe working together will help them achieve their goals and one day travel to the capital to make a name for themselves. One of them, Cry, warns about the dangers, like monsters, but they're determined to earn rewards and succeed. The scene shifts to Cry waiting in a long line at a casino. Many warriors are there to join teams, and a famous group, the First Steps, is recruiting. Cry notices factions helping each other find strong fighters, but his low level makes it hard to join a good team. While waiting, a girl named Ruta talks to Cry. She introduces herself as a third-stage hunter and says she came alone but is struggling to reach treasure guarded by wolves. Suddenly, a big man interrupts, mocking her for being a beginner. Ruta defends herself and challenges him, drawing her weapon. A clan member warns them against fighting or risk being banned. Ruta laughs it off, but Cry feels embarrassed. Later, as they wait, Ruta is amazed by the number of hunters. Cry says it's normal and that he's been there 5 times. Ruta apologizes, but Cry says it's fine and explains how famous hunters get better chances. He tells her about the Arc-Brave team, led by a 7th-stage warrior, and says joining them would make her a distinguished hunter. The big man interrupts again, saying the area belongs to the First Steps party. Cry adds that his friends founded it and became very famous. The man says it's the first time the group is recruiting, so it's crowded. Ruta asks about some people sitting alone, and Cry explains they're independent hunters hoping to join parties. Suddenly, a loud young man bursts in, bragging about joining First Steps. Ruta notices he's a higher stage than her. A girl named Tino confronts him, saying he should know his place. A member of Arc-Brave tries to calm her, but she insists she deserves a spot. The young man argues, and the big man suggests a duel. The crowd clears. As Tino prepares, she notices Cry and calls him Master, apologizing. Rodan greets Cry warmly, revealing Cry is the leader of First Steps and had been in disguise to scout warriors. The crowd is shocked. Cry reflects on his journey, remembering early struggles, near-death battles, and how he became leader. Though he jokes about retiring, he stayed on for years. Later, Rodan wakes Cry, teasing him for being late. Tino defends him, and Cry admits he overslept and skipped the uniform. Rodan laughs, calling him comfort-loving. Tino jokes about removing Rodan from the warrior list. Cry explains Tino is strong, trained by his friend. Rodan asks if Cry found a new warrior. Cry says his pick should be trusted. Gilbert, the loud boy, offers to join. Tino tries to hit him, but Cry stops her. Gilbert is level 4, but party-less. He admits he's not a good person. Cry suggests Rodan train him. When Gilbert can't answer what matters most in a warrior, Cry tells him, not losing in battle. He jokes he's never lost because he hasn't fought a real war yet. Cry throws a ring into the air, saying whoever catches it will join the Arc-Brave team. Gilbert catches it, but Tino knocks it away. Chaos erupts as everyone fights for the ring, destroying furniture. Cry leaves, telling them to keep the ring. Later at home, he hears the restaurant was destroyed. Relieved no one was hurt, he tells his staff to charge repairs to him. He learns the Explorers Association wants to see him. Without his mask, he's unsure about going out, but decides to go. At the association, Rodan apologizes and offers to pay for damages. Deputy Leader Gark Welter gives Cry a book with a new job, warning him not to underestimate it. Curious, he accepts and leaves to find Rodan. Instead, he meets Tino, who now has the ring. Cry congratulates her and agrees it's hers. Tino happily claims it. Cry asks if she's free and she says yes. He mentions a mission for her. She tries to run off for candy, but complains the mission's pay is too low and the task too hard for her level. Cry reassures her she won't go alone and promises to form a team. Cry and his old team head to the Explorers Association to register as hunters, but Cry feels nervous and scared. He tries to convince his teammates that he's a burden and should go home, but his friend reassures him, saying he shouldn't think that way. Luke volunteers to go in first, but Liz stops him, reminding him they agreed not to go in alone. Ignoring her, Luke confidently kicks open the door and announces that he's the best swordsman, introducing himself. Liz reminds him they're a team, but Luke insists on shining alone. She introduces the group, explaining they're there to register, but Cry remains anxious. When the staff asks for a team name and emblem, Cry suggests the Sad Souls with a skull emblem. Most of the team dislikes the name, except one person. Feeling like he failed, Cry wants to leave, but his teammates assure him the name is great. The staff checks if everything is fine, and Cry confirms. Thus, the Sad Souls party is formed. Cry's current team is introduced. Greg, a big man, asks if Cry is the leader of the Sad Souls. Cry confirms, and Greg calls him the one with 1,000 tricks. Cry explains the title is for brave, clever warriors. Gilbert angrily claims Cry can't have the title because he's too strong. Tino warns Gilbert not to underestimate Cry's strength, but Cry humbly denies being the strongest. Gilbert questions Cry's leadership, refusing to follow him. Greg tells Gilbert that Cray is at the 8th level, while Gilbert is at the 4th. Tensions rise. Cray decides Gilbert won't join them and asks Greg instead. Tino hesitates but says she wants Cray to come. Cray declines, promising to find someone else for her mission. Suddenly, Gilbert challenges Cray to a fight, but Cray refuses. Tino steps in, saying Gilbert has disrespected her teacher. She knocks Gilbert down with one punch and demands he respect Cray. Gilbert, remembering his past as a powerful team leader, says nothing. Cray asks if he left his party because he felt weak. Gilbert is surprised and admits it. Cray explains that something similar happened to them, but his friends never abandoned him. In his thoughts, Cray reflects on his friend's loyalty. Gilbert begins to respect Cray, realizing he deeply understands others. Cray looks at Gilbert's sword and calls it weak, but with potential. When Cray touches it, flames burst from the blade, something Gilbert has never seen. Surprised, Gilbert realizes it's a trick Cray did using his artifact ring. Dora and Greg are amazed, and Gilbert starts to believe Cray has extraordinary powers, even wondering if he's a ghost. Cray learns their next destination is full of treasures guarded by a blood-covered wolf. He feels anxious. A staff member asks if he sent the team there. Cray explains the area is 3rd level and Tino can handle it. She thanks him for helping her learn about Gilbert. Cray explains the sword trick came from his ring and asks if he can buy Gilbert's sword. He grows nervous upon hearing rumors of dangerous wolves and a ghost. He realizes the mission is actually on the 5th level. His friends are surprised, but Cray calls it valuable training. Tino jokes about writing her will. She and Dora trust Cray. Greg is skeptical but knows Cray has a plan. Cray gears up, puts on his mask, and launches himself toward the team. Cray's team is attacked by a giant wolf in the treasure zone, but they manage to kill it. Tino says they won because they outnumbered it. Greg asks Gilbert why he didn't use the fire in his sword. Gilbert explains he tried but it wouldn't light and he doesn't know how to recharge it. Dora suggests they go back, warning they might be in danger if they stay. Greg agrees, saying the people before them are probably dead and they can't bring them back. Tino refuses to leave, saying they haven't reached the treasure zone yet. Greg says their lives are more important than treasure, and they won't survive another wolf. Tino says their mission is to save the living, not get treasure, and they need to help the people who came before. She walks ahead, reminding the group Cray didn't send them to fail. They reach the treasure zone and find more giant wolves. Greg says these wolves are stronger than the last. Dora notes the area is smaller, which might limit the wolves' movement. She suggests they fight here. Gilbert wants to attack, but Tino questions him, telling him not to rush. Gilbert says his sword is still strong even without fire. Tino reminds him she's in charge and that Cray trusts her to keep them alive. She plans to draw the wolves' attention with Dora while Gilbert and Greg attack from behind. She says they'll work as a team, not sacrifice anyone. Meanwhile, Cray is on his way to them, hoping Tino is still alive. He thinks the others might be sacrificed if needed. The team faces the wolves. Tino says even though the wolves are more, their teamwork gives them an edge. She says wolves might turn on each other because they lack teamwork. More wolves emerge and Gilbert and Greg get excited. Tino praises each member's skills and says she understands why Cray sent them together. She thanks Cray for choosing them. Gilbert thinks of his old team and how they gave up. Greg approaches, saying he now understands teamwork and regrets how he treated his old team. They defeat the wolves and enter the cave. Inside, Tino touches the rocks. Greg asks what's wrong. She says someone's still there, their leader. Greg suggests leaving before the leader kills them. Tino refuses, saying they've come too far. She reassures Greg, saying he's strong. Greg agrees and says they'll earn money for a better life. He remembers being scared and backing down. Tino comforts him, saying being at the top is an achievement. She reminds them that Cray chose each of them for a reason. Dora asks why Cray chose her. Tino jokes it's because of her good looks. Dora gets upset, but Tino laughs and urges them to finish the mission. Meanwhile, Cray crashes into the cave because his suit is too fast and has no brakes. The team faces the wolves' leader, who is massive. He attacks and they run. Dora and Greg are knocked down. Tino sees the weak spot on its head. She tells Gilbert to block an attack so they can strike. Gilbert blocks it, but Greg's attack fails. The monster breaks Greg's sword and nearly kills him, but Dora saves him. Tino attacks its head, kills it, and injures her leg. She announces they won. Greg is upset his sword broke, but Gilbert says, survival matters. Tino gives Greg her sword. They hear a noise from deeper in the cave. A sharp arrow almost hits Tino, and they see a pack of even bigger wolves. Tino realizes they have no choice but to fight. She quickly makes a plan to move through a narrow passage where the wolves can't reach them. Just before they can leave, a wolf blocks their way. Gilbert and Greg decide to stay behind to hold the wolves off, telling Tino and Dora to run. Dora refuses to leave them. Tino remembers Kai and hopes he has a solution. She recalls the ring Kai gave her and says she promised everyone would return safely. She explains her plan to strike the wolf's eye, asking for their help. The team prepares, but Gilbert charges ahead and gets knocked down. Tino feels guilty for giving the wrong order. The wolves surround them and Tino fears it's the end. Suddenly, Cry appears and Tino is overjoyed. The wolves attack, but he isn't hurt and says he has 17 lives. Cry uses a spell that weakens but doesn't kill them. Outnumbered, he blinds the wolves with a bottle trick. He tells them to run and they escape. Gilbert worries, but Dora reassures him. Cry mutters this is his top speed. They escape. Gilbert thanks Cry, who heals Tino's leg. Cry remembers his old team and how important his magical tools were in their battles. His teammates often asked how he got them, and Cry would say, "I buy them when I have the money." Liz reminded him about his promise to get her a magical tool as a gift. Cry promised to keep his word. Liz tried holding one of the tools, but it slipped from her hands. Luke picked up a sword, but Cry warned him it was cursed. Luke, now affected by the sword, tried to attack everyone, but his friends stopped him. Now Cry leads his new team through the wolves' lair. They're lost in a maze with no way out. Cry feels like Tino should be leading instead, and worries about how to apologize to her. Gilbert is frustrated. "We have no idea where we're going," he says. Cry admits he doesn't know how to get out. Tino reassures Gilbert, saying she studied the map and believes the exit is through the wolves' leader's chamber. Cry is surprised. The wolves must be there. Dora asks when the plan will end. Cry thinks about retreating, but they stop when they find the team they came to rescue. Tino praises Cry for finding them, but he downplays it, saying they were just lucky. Gilbert and Greg are suspicious, with Gilbert thinking Cry is hiding something. Dora mentions that the rescue team is exhausted, but Cry pulls out food from his magical bag. Tino is amazed by how much food he has. Greg talks to the rescue team's leader, who says the fifth party squad wasn't prepared for the wolves. He explains that the wolves are led by a huge creature with a skull-shaped head, known as the one that harvests souls. The creature suddenly appears, scaring everyone. Cry explains that the creature is a master swordsman, able to kill even with a wooden sword. He wonders if it's his old friend, Luke, but then dismisses the thought. He regrets not waiting for Rodan, the Arc-Brave leader. The rescue team leader adds that the creature had toyed with them but wouldn't spare anyone next time. Dora asks Cry what they should do. "Escape," he replies. "Follow Tino." Tino steps forward, ready to lead now that her leg is healed. Cry insists they can't leave anyone behind, even though some of the rescued team members are exhausted. Tino apologizes for forgetting and asks for forgiveness. Cry reassures her, and Tino announces that the exit is at the end of the passage. The rescued team's leader offers to stay behind and distract the monsters so the others can escape, willing to sacrifice himself. Tino confidently says everyone will make it home as long as Cry is with them. Cry feels uneasy about her trust in him, reflecting on her blind faith. As they move forward, one of the rescue team members volunteers to stay behind and distract the monsters. Suddenly, loud howls echo, and the wolf leader appears. Everyone braces for the final battle. Cry steps in front of Tino, urging the group to step back. To their surprise, Liz appears and kicks the wolf leader. Cry greets her and they talk. Liz asks about the new team members, and Cry explains that he's just training them. The team is confused, not knowing who Liz is. Liz, feeling hurt, asks if they've heard of the Sad Souls. She turns to Tino, asking if she recognizes her, reminding her that she raised her. Tino, terrified, grips Liz's hand tightly. Liz scolds her for her fear. Gilbert is thrown against the rocks. Tino apologizes, feeling guilty. Cry steps in, telling Liz that Tino has learned to control her emotions. Liz acknowledges this, but insists Tino should be more ambitious and willing to face death. Tino, still guilty, apologizes to Cry, who reassures her that everything is fine. The group faces the skull-faced creature and a massive wolf armed with a gun. Liz steps forward, scolding Tino for failing to defeat the creature. She puts on her mask, easily catching the bullets fired at her and criticizing Tino for her weakness. With a swift kick, Liz takes down the large wolf and then faces the skull-faced creature. She teaches Tino to fight without hesitation, pushing her to overcome her doubts. Tino struggles during the battle, but after it's over, Liz boasts about the immense strength of the Sad Souls. She turns to Tino and asks if she's okay. Tino nods, shaken but reassured. Liz then embraces Cry, announcing her return to the team. Gilbert, inspired by Liz's strength, decides to return to his original team. He apologizes and admits that he wants to become as strong as Liz. The group expresses doubt, and Tino remarks that he could never reach their level, as their masks are uniquely crafted for them. Cry recalls the moment he gave them their masks, remembering how much they treasured them and the bond they shared. Cry recalls a memory of Citri, one of the most brilliant and powerful members of the Sorrowful Souls, handing him a mysterious bottle. She had warned him not to open it, claiming it could destroy the entire capital. The last time he used the bottle during the incident in the Wolf Cave, it had been empty. Now he wonders if Citri had been joking or if the danger was real. Shaking off the worry, he tells himself not to overthink it. Elsewhere, a new adventure party delves into the Wolf Cave. The male and female warriors leading the group fight through strengthened monsters, noting how much stronger the enemies have become in just 2 weeks. They're on a mission from the association to investigate the abnormal activity, and the male leader mentions that the Thousand-Trick Warrior is exploring from another direction. Back in the capital, Cry wakes up to find that the association is requesting a detailed report on the Wolf Cave incident. Without hesitation, he tells his assistant to have Tino write the report, since she had taken the lead during the mission. The assistant informs him that Tino is currently training with Rizz. Curious, Cry asks if there have been any disturbances in the capital. His assistant offers to investigate, but he assures her it's just a casual question. Cry heads to the training grounds. Outside the room, a passing warrior warns him that Lizz's training methods might be too harsh for Tino. When Cry enters, he finds Tino collapsed on the ground. Rizz coldly states that if Tino has already spent all her strength, then she should die. Cry steps in, asking Rizz to stop. Rizz agrees, but Tino insists she can keep going. Seeing her determination, Rizz resumes the training. Later, Sven confronts Cry. He criticizes Cry for letting things get so intense with Tino and informs him of a serious development. The northern route has been overrun by new monsters, and an entire night party was wiped out. Cry reflects on how Gark, calm, intelligent, and dependable, would be the best person to handle this. He silently hopes for Gark's return and resolves to stall for time until then. Sven, however, warns others not to underestimate Cry, believing he's far more cunning and protective of the Sorrowful Souls than he appears. In the northern region, a commander and his deputy discuss recent strange occurrences. Suspecting Cry knows more than he's letting on, especially after Cry's rare visit to the treasure area, the commander decides to pay him a visit. His deputy notes that Cry had claimed to be too busy to meet, but the commander insists on going anyway. Meanwhile, within the capital, high-ranking officials discuss a growing crisis. They mention a girl named Sophia, believing she could be the key to solving the problem. That morning, Cry wakes up from a nightmare, visions of the capital in ruins, all caused by Citri's bottle. He's startled awake, only to find Rizz in bed beside him, having crawled in during the night. He's used to this, she does it often, her body always warm like a furnace. Rizz, awakened by his shouting, asks if he's free today. Cry asks about Tino's training, and Rizz responds that Tino will rest. When he inquires about her own training, she casually replies that she's taking a break as well. Cry suggests they do something together, and Rizz smiles, hugging him tightly and thanking him. Soon after, the commander arrives at Cry's residence, greeted by Cry's assistant, who is visibly surprised by the unexpected visit. The commander calmly explains that he's here to prevent larger issues from unfolding. As Cry and Rizz appear, Rizz meets the commander with a cold glare and firmly says Cry doesn't have time, he's spending the day exploring the city with her. The commander stands his ground, but Rizz takes an aggressive stance, forcing him to defend himself. Cry suggests the deputy commander and he go upstairs for a drink. During their conversation, the deputy asks about Cry's visit to the Wolf Cave. Cry assures her nothing unusual was found, but offers his team's help and suggests she seek out Gark for further assistance. Meanwhile, Rizz and the commander's confrontation intensifies. Rizz taunts him about his strength, and the commander loses his temper, trying to overpower her. Cry intervenes and orders them to stop. After speaking with the deputy, Cry urges the commander to calm down. Rizz reminds Cry about their plan to explore the city. A staff member storms in, asking what happened, but Cry and Rizz continue their plans. While walking, Rizz comments on the commander's declining strength. Cry asks about the current strength of the monsters. Rizz confirms they're stronger than before, but says they're weaker than the Wolf Cave leader. Cry reflects on Citri's bottle and fears the destruction it could cause. He asks Rizz what she would do if the capital were destroyed, but she talks about visiting the lakes. Rizz hands Cry her bag and runs to a stranger. Cry lets him go. The commander meets with the Paladin party, frustrated as Cry keeps apologizing for his requests. He orders them to investigate the Wolf Cave to uncover its mysteries. Meanwhile, Cry and Rizz visit a poor district to check recent disturbances. Cry wants to stop at a candy store, but the shopkeeper locks the door in fear after recognizing them. Rizz grows annoyed, but Cry suggests returning later, as the candy is likely sold out. That evening, Cry feels frustrated about his unproductive day. Rizz teases him, thinking it's because of the candy, but Cry admits he's worried about his absent friend, Citri. Rizz offers to help, but Cry remains uneasy, needing chemistry information only Citri can provide. Liz mentions Citri took all her equipment to the night mansion, so she may be gone longer. Cry grows more frustrated, waiting for her return. An employee enters, saying she's chosen members for the Wolf Cave investigation, but Rodan is missing. The team will depart the next day with a research expert. Cry thinks it doesn't concern him, but reassures the employee the expert's presence will help. Meanwhile, witches hiding in the district worry Cry found their hideout, disguised as the candy store. Their leader, Sophia, declares war on him. One witch fears Cry's level 8 strength, but Sophia says their device doesn't rely on levels, it's time to test it. Tino sees many horse-drawn carriages heading to the Wolf Cave and grows curious, especially with level 7 warriors involved. She reflects on the need to uncover what's happening. Cry steps onto his balcony, learns the party is a prep meeting for Rotten's absence, and questions the cost. Though he suggests using fewer warriors, the group reacts angrily. He agrees to the plan, but worries about Citri being trapped. Liz asks to join, but Cry firmly refuses. Cry decides that 2 warriors will lead the group and learns Sven is already on his way with his team. Cry plans to finish his tasks before heading to the cave, knowing Sven will take charge. The warriors cheer, excited for the mission. Inside the cave, Sven warns his team about stronger monsters and tells them to stay alert. Back with Cry, Liz feels sad she can't join. Cry explains she has another important task, reassuring her and lifting her mood. A warrior asks Cry for advice, and Cry warns to be cautious if they encounter a slime. The warrior questions this, but Cry says it's just a precaution. Meanwhile, the witches talk in their hideout. One is concerned about the number of warriors sent. Sophia, their leader, says the warriors are too arrogant to consider them a threat, but warns against interference. Flick cautions about Cry's power to summon sorrowful souls. Sophia remains confident, having set strong defenses. She explains only Cry, Liz, and Citri can summon the sorrowful souls, and that she has gathered intelligence on them. Liz can handle magic, but Cray is vulnerable without his team. Sophia wants Citri's invention and commands the witches to follow her orders. Sven's party exits the cave and meets another group of warriors. One mocks them, saying they found nothing. Sven calmly stresses caution and notes that Cry can foresee events. Back with Cry, Liz expresses her eagerness to fight beside him. Cry is unsure about when to leave. Suddenly, Citri returns, saying Cry needs her power. She warns of a strong enemy they must confront soon. Liz and Tino leave to give them privacy. Citri shares info about the witches, while Liz listens outside. The commander prepares to go to the cave. An employee questions him, but he insists he's still strong. Citri approaches with urgent news. The story shifts to the past, where young Citri tells Cray she wants to help others by becoming a better hunter, even though she isn't strong. Cray suggests she become an alchemist, where her skills could be useful. In the present, Citri visits Cray's room before seeing Gark. She says her slime creation has improved, more adaptive and evolving, but still a failure. Cray is confused, but Citri assures him it won't harm them, though she doesn't mention others. She suspects it escaped through the bathroom drain after breaking out of its capsule. Cray is alarmed, but Citri dismisses his concern and says she'll handle it. At the White Wolf's den, Cry's reinforcements arrive. Sven, leading them, is informed that Cry assigned him in charge. He isn't surprised but wonders why Liz isn't present. Learning Liz is with Cry, Sven feels relieved, thinking things will go smoother. He calls a strategy meeting and asks if anyone has fought slimes. No one has, and some joke that slimes are easy to kill. Sven asks if they brought anything special, but the group assumes normal weapons are fine. They're told it's not a normal slime. Sven grows annoyed that Cry didn't give more info. Jean mocks the group for being worried, but Sven says he'll be the first victim. Jean storms off. Talia, an alchemist, surprises them by revealing a drug she made with Citri to kill slimes, though she's unsure if it will work on an abnormal one. At Akashic Tower, Noctis speaks with his disciple, who is confident in their strategy against the hunters. Outside the den, Sven outlines their plan using whistles. During the search, Jean mocks their caution. He later wanders off and hears strange noises. In the forest, he finds a chained-up wolf knight and interrupts 2 figures about to enchant it, charging in with his sword. Jean defeats the 2 shady figures, but one injects mana material into the chained wolf knight. It morphs into a slime-like creature and breaks free. One figure smirks. It's now a demonized monster needing large amounts of mana. Alarmed, Jean blows his whistle. Sven hears it and orders everyone to return. They find Jean missing a hand covered in blood. Jean says the slime is in the forest. The hunters spot the creature and Talia is shocked by its abnormal appearance. Sven commands the mages to attack, but the magic has no effect. As Henrik treats Jean, he explains the wolf knight was turned by a potion. Sven fires arrows, but nothing works. Frustrated, he leads the slime away to test Talia's explosive drug, but it fails. Talia is stunned. A hunter notes that Cry only called it slime-like. Sven grows irritated with Cry for withholding details. Sitri arrives, revealing the creature is protected by a powerful magical barrier. Cry anticipated this, she says. As she analyzes it, the slime senses her absorbing mana and attacks. Sitri tosses a capsule and Sven shoots it. The creature explodes. Sven asks what she used. Sitri says it was anti-mana material. Gark arrives, surprised it's over. Sitri explains that Noctis and the Akashic Tower are manipulating treasure vaults and that she's been hunting him. Officials doubt her, but she insists it's real. Talia asks about a device underground. Sitri confirms it and warns more monsters may come. She plans to study the remains, but admits she's out of anti-mana materials. She asks for their help, admitting she's not strong. After she leaves, Henrik praises her honesty, but Sven warns that Sitri will do anything to reach her goals. Meanwhile, Liz keeps pressuring Cry to go, and Tino watches in embarrassment. Flick interrogates two captured mages, demanding to know who ordered the repeated monster attacks. They say Sophia gave the orders. Furious, Flick snaps that she lacks the experience for such decisions and demands she be summoned. The mages reply she's inspecting defenses and hasn't responded. Flick, frustrated, insists they need to secure their position better. One mage says the master fully trusts Sophia, but Flick vows not to lose that trust and orders all monsters released to attack the warriors, hoping to teach Sophia a lesson in command. Elsewhere, Sven questions two more mages about the slime creature. Sitri joins in, demanding they reveal their leader's location. The mages refuse, loyal to their master. When one objects to the serum Sitri intends to use, calling it illegal and unstable, she dismisses him and drinks it herself, proving it harmless. Gark suggests a more ethical method, but an explosion in the forest interrupts. Rushing to the scene, they find a chained captive who laughs, saying their end is near. Sitri identifies a beast approaching with layers of magical barriers. Sven notes this one is faster, likely enhanced with a different serum. Sitri orders shield bearers forward, but the beast strikes quickly. Spells miss as it dodges with unnatural speed. Sitri suggests waiting for its mana to burn out, but Gark warns they'll suffer heavy losses. Sisri orders a retreat. Then, to their surprise, the beasts begin attacking each other. Sitri explains they're fueled by mana, and fighting each other generates even more. A third beast appears and joins the frenzy. Meanwhile, the master reprimands Flick for acting without Sophia's approval, furious that all their magical potions are gone. Flick begs forgiveness. Over the phone, Sophia scolds Flick, saying she withheld the beasts to avoid this. She warns the loss of their potions changes everything, especially now that Gark, a legendary 7th-tier warrior, is fighting on the front lines. The Master of Mages considers retreating, but Sophia refuses. Retreating without results will tarnish the Akashic Tower's name, she explains. She reminds them that 2 of their mages were captured. It's only a matter of time before they talk. Flick argues that their loyalty is unshakable, but Sophia scoffs. Sitri will break them eventually. To recover the mages and silence any traitors, she suggests deploying the beast. The Master agrees, but warns it needs a handler. Sophia smiles coldly. Flick, this is your chance to prove yourself. Flick accepts, vowing to crush the hunters. In the Wolf's Cave, one of Sitri's students watches her silently, feeling inadequate. Sven notices and gently asks if something's wrong. She shakes her head, but he assures her, "You're not alone." Nearby, Gark offers Sitri a drink, urging her to rest. What should have been a simple probe turned into a war, he mutters. Before he can finish his thought, Sitri cuts in. "I already found the mage's hideout." One of the captured mages, stunned, demands to know how. The other denies it outright. Sitri smirks. "Thanks for confirming." She urges them to act before the master escapes. Sven insists on capturing them. The mages beg Sophia to come for them. "Sophia's the master's right hand," Sitri says. "We capture her, we break their command." A mage laughs, saying, "Sophia is out of her league." Sitri's gaze sharpens. "Then I'll just have to prove otherwise." Meanwhile, Liz, Cry, and Tino press forward. Cry grumbles about lacking safety rings. When Tino offers her hand to guide him, Liz snaps, making her retreat. Cry uses his vision ring, and Liz gently promises to protect him. At the hideout, Sitri prepares to move in. "They're here," she says. Sven sighs. "You always ask for the impossible." Gark grins. "Then I'll prove nothing's impossible to Liz." Cry notices something odd and points it out. Liz examines the area and identifies it as the remains of a lightning strike. Gark joins the battle against the monsters, while Sven tries to help from a distance, but fails. The mage leader summons Akashic, which arrives with a huge explosion. Akashic targets Gark, but he blocks the attack, alarming Sven. The mages shoot arrows at Sven, but he dodges them. One adventurer suggests retreating, but Sven's healer disagrees, fearing it would harm civilians. Flick works to free himself and his companions. During the battle, a monster injures Sven's hand, but he heals quickly. Cry's apprentice suggests shooting down one of the flying monsters to change the tide. Liz appears and takes down one with a single strike. Sven reveals Master Cry sent reinforcements, boosting morale. The captured mages break free and join the fight. Cry and Tino observe from a distance. Cry is distracted, thinking Rizz should be protecting him. Tino suggests capturing someone nearby, but Cry refuses to preserve peace. Flick grows suspicious of Cry's knowledge of their presence. On the battlefield, the warriors focus on Akashic, but it remains strong. Rizz strikes Akashic, but her blows don't work. Gark's strike causes it to kneel, but it rises again. Akashic counters, but Gark dodges. It ascends, revealing it can fly, and attacks Rizz, wounding her. Sven asks about a weapon to counter it, but Citri says defeating it will take time and patience. Rizz steps in and strikes Akasha, forcing it down. Gark follows up, but Akasha stabilizes. Rizz admits underestimating it, but claims its time is up. Cry arrives, greeting Sven and Rizz. Akashic lunges at Cry, but Tino shields him. A mysterious force repels Akash into a building, ending the battle. Rizz praises Cry, telling Tino to step back. Cry, confused, asks Tino what happened. Meanwhile, the agents of justice investigate the mage's abandoned equipment. Gark questions how Cry defeated Akashic, suspecting magic. Sean explains Cry claimed the monster reverted to its original state. Gark focuses on capturing the mage's tools. Citri thanks Cry for his timely arrival and help, but insists the true enemy is the Akashic, not the mages. She silently vows to defeat them. The mage leader wonders if Sophia is with the Thousand Tricks team, frustrated they haven't captured them. Flick confirms Sophia's likely presence. He decides to leave the country and return later, ordering Sophia to be summoned. While searching for slimes, Gark confronts Cray, accusing him of withholding information. Cray calmly responds that he has shared everything he knows. An official criticizes Cray for not helping with the investigation, and Cray suggests they question Citri instead. At the mage's hideout, the leader mistakes Talia for Sophia. Talia denies it, and the leader grows angry. Sophia arrives, apologizing for being late and explaining she was finishing tasks. The leader is confused by her doppelganger. Citri reveals she has been both Citri and Sophia all along, shocking the mage leader. She admits to building the ethereal tower and Akash, warning the mages to retreat, as Cry allowed their survival as a war. The leader asks if Cry knew, but Citri denies it. Citri explains that Akasha was intentionally stopped to avoid further destruction. She tells the mages the agents of justice have taken their research and equipment, making them vulnerable to arrest, but she plans to continue her research. The leader mocks Citri, calling her delusional and the Dark One, a name that stings due to her past. Citri coldly says Sophia no longer exists, suggesting the leader take the name. The leader tries to attack, but Citri uses a monster to shield herself, explaining that monsters respond to love, ensuring control. The leader attacks again, destroying the monster, but Citri remains unharmed, revealing she is immune due to the Citri slime inside her. The leader warns this could destroy the world, but Citri plans to test it. As smoke fills the area, Flick urges the leader to leave and promises to handle it. The leader flees, leaving his team behind. Citri questions Flick's loyalty, making him feel conflicted. The leader tries to escape but is stopped by a powerful strike. A massive figure emerges, and the leader's attack is ineffective. Citri introduces Kill, a monster created from an imprisoned mage. The mage leader is furious, but Kill attacks him. Meanwhile, Cray talks to Citri, who confirms no serious harm, except for Talia fainting. She plans to auction the seized materials and suggests acquiring Akashic through negotiations. Cray agrees and notes that Citri's longtime nemesis has disappeared. The Justice Warriors, Commander Gark, Cray, and Citri meet to discuss important matters. Cray asks permission to keep the beast suggested by Citri. One warrior questions why Cray wants it, and to their surprise, Cray casually says he plans to drink from it. The room falls silent, and Cray laughs at their reactions. After the meeting, Cray and Citri leave together. Citri thanks Cray for supporting her idea, but Cray admits he hasn't secured the creature yet. Citri laughs at his joke about drinking from it, and Cray explains it's an old favorite. They part ways, but Gark calls Cray back for a private conversation. Gark tells Cry about Arnold, a 7th-level fighter and dragon slayer in town. Cry isn't interested but is warned not to fight Arnold. Gark taps Cry's shoulder, activating his protective ring and reminding Cry of his fragility. Later, Cry sees a poster for an annual auction, but he realizes he doesn't have enough money to participate. He considers borrowing, but remembers he still owes Citri. Chloe, a guild worker and Gark's niece, approaches Cry, praising Arnold's strength. As they talk, Citri arrives to fetch Cry, and they run into Arnold. Chloe greets Arnold warmly, while some team members get irritated by the attention he's getting. Later, Cry returns home with Citri, her deputy, and the creature. The deputy is concerned about the creature's safety, but Citri reassures her. The creature then drains Cry's mana, and Citri quickly takes it away. Cry realizes he has no mana left, and vows to avoid the creature in the future. Cry asks about Lucia's return, but Citri says it may take longer due to an incident with a sword-wielding monster. Cry hopes Lucia will return soon. Citri gives Cry a magical ring, urging him to wear it without worry. Meanwhile, Arnold's team discusses ways to gain recognition. Arnold crushes an apple to show his readiness for action. Back at Cry's place, Citri gives him a massage, and Cry admits it feels good but remains concerned about his mana. He's too shy to ask for help and has always relied on Lucia. Citri reassures Cry and assembles a group of warriors for advanced training in spells and enchantments. She explains that the training is non-lethal and will help them fight alongside Lucia. The warriors are excited, with one asking if the training could make him as strong as Lucia. To Citri's surprise, twin elves Lapis and Chris volunteer. They are from the Starlight faction. And Chris sarcastically comments on Cry's welcome. Lapis reminds her to show respect, as Cry is a clan leader. Chris is skeptical that Cry is Lucia's older brother. Cry introduces the elves and their magical abilities, noting their disdain for humans with lesser magic. Lapis admires Lucia's magic, which seems nearly impossible to match. Citri explains Lucia gained her abilities through the same training. Marietta volunteers, charging rings with her mana. She collapses after charging a fourth ring, and Citri uses this as a teaching moment about the dangers of overusing mana and expanding mana capacity. Lapis compares it to an extreme recovery process, and Citri reveals a serum to help Marietta regain strength. Marietta collapses again, and Citri urges the group to keep practicing. Krite wonders if Lucia went through such training, and Citri confirms Lucia's strength comes from hard work and increasing her mana capacity. She also mentions Lucia turns down recruitment offers from the Starlight team because she's unimpressed. Chris gets upset, but Lapis suggests proving their worth through action. Chris demands Citri's charging items, which Citri's beast places on the table. Meanwhile, Rodan discusses a deal at a friend's house when Liz arrives, catching his attention. At Liz's house, Citri and Cry wait outside and Tino greets them. Liz emerges from the bath and Citri quickly covers Cry's eyes. Once dressed, Liz thanks Cry for wanting to host a party in celebration. Citri prevents a hug between Cry and Liz but agrees to the party. At the party, Arnold's team, frustrated with being overlooked, decides to drink. Citri secretly adds a serum to Liz's drink to weaken her. Liz notices and confronts Citri, but Cry steps in. Citri adds another dose of serum and Liz unknowingly drinks it, challenging Citri to do the same. Citri accepts, but Cry switches their drinks. Liz strikes Arnold after he insults her, and Cry quickly apologizes to Arnold, escorting everyone out before things escalate. At the tavern, Chloe reflects on her dreams of becoming an adventurer and remembers a duel with Luke, a skilled swordsman. Despite her best efforts, she was defeated. Luke praised her strength but explained that his victory came from intense training. This moment led Chloe to abandon her adventuring aspirations and instead focus on supporting adventurers at the guild. Meanwhile, Cry and his deputy discuss Arnold, a warrior injured by Liz. Cry mentions Arnold's reputation as a dragon slayer and recalls a time when Citri cooked dragon meat, surprising his deputy. Arnold and his team, still upset, discuss their defeat. Arnold acknowledges Liz's strength, but his team wants to take action. Arnold, however, is only interested in learning Liz's name. At the guild, Chloe remains professional when Arnold's team asks about filing a complaint. Arnold calmly requests Liz's name, and Gark teases them about their defeat, suggesting a peace offering of dragon meat. Arnold's team grows angry, but Gark dismisses them, warning them to focus elsewhere. Arnold decides to target Cry. At Cry's house, his deputy asks about his debt to Citri. Cry has 3 ways to repay it: imprisoning Citri, marriage, or a repayment plan. Cry jokes about marriage, but his deputy advises better financial management and mentions an auction. Cry feels overwhelmed. In the city, rumors spread about Cry's rise to 2nd rank, with some claiming he can predict the future. Arnold's team hears this and becomes curious. Arnold dismisses it, believing his own hard work earned his rank, and vows to challenge Cry. Cry's debt grows and he considers the repayment plan but finds it too much. Tino offers to help and expresses frustration at being tricked. Cry jokes about marrying Citri, but Tino warns Citri would dominate him. Cry laughs and suggests they go for sweets. Tino talks about the auction again, pushing for treasure to pay the debt. Cry groans, feeling her ideas might lead him into danger. Cry regrets borrowing from Citri, wondering how things might have been without the loans. Arnold gets angry when Cry shows an artifact glowing with runes, mocking him for relying on tools instead of fighting. Cry calmly responds that efficiency is more important than direct combat. Arnold's team prepares to attack. Tino, slammed to the ground, groans but says she's still able to fight. Cry tells her to rest and focuses on Arnold. He activates an artifact, paralyzing Arnold's team. Arnold struggles, asking what's happening. Cry explains the artifact suppresses aggression like a timeout. Onlookers are impressed. Arnold's team tries to break free but fails. One growls that Cry is nothing without tricks. Cry chuckles, saying tricks beat brute force. He tells Arnold that battles aren't won with fists and swords. Arnold pushes through the artifact's power, but Cry increases the pressure, forcing Arnold to his knees. Cry admits Arnold is strong, but says strength alone isn't enough. Arnold accuses Cry of hiding behind tools. Cry explains that true strength is knowing when to fight. He deactivates the artifact, freeing Arnold's team. Tino, now up, asks why Cry didn't finish them off. Cry replies that restraint is sometimes the real victory. Arnold glares but leaves with his team. Cry watches, muttering that it's never over. Tino comments on Cry's decision not to end it. Cry says winning isn't about defeating the enemy but teaching them. He suggests they go to the sweet shop. Tino follows, frustrated but admiring him. At the shop, Tino apologizes for not being strong enough. Cry reassures her that strength is knowing when to step back. Tino asks for a mission or treasure to prove herself. Cry sees her determination and assures her time will come. Later, Cry walks alone, thinking of Chloe, the guild attendant. He recalls her failed duel with Luke and considers recruiting her, but hesitates because of Gark's protectiveness. Meanwhile, Chloe, haunted by her decision to assist adventurers, resolves to push herself harder to discover her true potential. Chloe tells Arnold that Cry has no interest in dragon meat, mocking his request to capture a dragon, and says chicken is tastier. She also shares Cry's comment about Arnold's fondness for women, embarrassing him. Later, Arnold and his team discuss Cry, frustrated by his unpredictability and wondering about his motives. Arnold questions why Cry pushes them to fight his strongest members. One teammate mentions that Cry has challenged many warriors, but most refuse. Arnold, angry, crushes a red iron piece and decides to stay calm, thinking about an upcoming auction. Meanwhile, Cry and Tino are selling an artifact to an appraiser who warns of its danger if its purpose is discovered. He decides to keep it for now. Cry asks to see auction items, and Tino talks about being a hunter. The appraiser suggests she join a strong clan. Tino praises Cry, feeling sad about his strictness. The appraiser asks Cry about his influence on her, but Cry ignores him. Cry finds a magical mask, thinking it could help him avoid Arnold. Afterward, Cry and Tino leave, and Cry decides to buy the mask for less than its auction price. Tino mentions Citri's money from potion sales, but Cry reflects on how Citri gained her wealth using warriors' magic. Tino also suggests a valuable bracelet, but Cry decides to keep it. Cry regrets relying on Citri for loans. As they walk, they see a carriage belonging to aristocrats. Rodan exits with Eclair, who dislikes adventurers but finds Rodan different. She asks to study with him, and he agrees. When Eclair notices Cry, she demands he leave, angering Tino. Cry stops her from escalating the situation. Rodan greets Cry and introduces him to Eclair, who criticizes Cry, saying her father thinks he's weak and doesn't deserve his rank. Tino gets angry, but Cry remains calm, ignoring Eclair's insults. Surprised, Eclair leaves. Rodan apologizes and asks about Cry's discoveries. Cry mentions an artifact, but Rodan refuses to lend money without knowing its purpose. Frustrated, Cry tries borrowing from other adventurers, which amuses Rodan. Rumors spread about Cry's desperation. Cry goes to Citri, apologizing for his debt. She offers to sell possessions or borrow from the bank to help. Cry is grateful but guilty. Citri contacts Arnold to negotiate. Arnold's friend stresses the artifact's rarity, but Citri argues it's overpriced. Arnold sets the price at 10 million, which Cry agrees to. As Citri prepares to pay, other bidders, including Eclair, cause chaos. Cry reflects on the situation. His deputy explains that rumors have led nobles and merchants to make the auction official, raising the price to 100 million. Cry sarcastically jokes the artifact might be useful for sneaking into a candy shop. Citri enters, revealing she has raised 800 million. Cry and his deputy are shocked. Citri offers the money, but the deputy warns of risks. Cry dismisses her concerns. Citri says she accepts him, and Cry agrees to a new plan. Citri suggests investigating Eclair to stop her bid. At Eclair's home, she warns not to undermine Rodan and plans to gift him the artifact, even if it's dangerous. Cry disagrees, saying Rodan wouldn't accept it. Eclair gets emotional, but Citri points out her limited budget. Eclair refuses to concede. Meanwhile, Eclair's father orders her to secure the artifact at any cost. Eclair argues Cray's group can only raise 200 million, but the advisor warns her she'll need 1 billion to guarantee victory. Cray jokes about celebrating, funded by Rodan, once it's over. Citri tells Cry they have 95 million, giving them a 70% chance of winning the artifact. She's frustrated about not having other options due to Cry's objections. Cry thanks her, and Citri, feeling emotional, wishes for a closer connection. Liz warns Cry that if they lose, she might steal the artifact. But Citri suggests framing it as a theft. Cry decides to let it go if they fail. At the auction, Liz is surprised by the crowd. Tino, with her old team, greets Cry. A warrior mocks Cry's debts, and Cry admits it might be true. He offers Tino to stay by his side. Cry asks her to bid for him, and she agrees. Liz warns Tino of the consequences if they lose. Eclair arrives, glares at Cry, and walks off. Citri says Eclair will outbid them, but Cry reassures her. Cry focuses on the artifact, though he's tempted by other items. The next item is a humanoid created by Citri. Cry bids on it. Despite Citri's warning about running out of money, the price climbs to 500 million and they can't afford it. Cry gives Citri a check for the difference, reflecting on using his sister's money to help a friend. At the auction, Greg wins the humanoid instead of Tino, but Cry isn't upset, trusting Greg. The Red Hand Warrior mocks Cry for spending all his money, but Cry is only focused on the humanoid. He decides to leave, letting Citri and Liz handle the situation. On his way home, Cry remembers Eclair's plan to give the artifact to Rodan, so he warns Rodan about its danger. Rodan agrees to act immediately. Meanwhile, Eclair, overwhelmed by her win, wonders if Cry let her win on purpose. The artifact, the face, speaks to her, claiming it has been watching her and knows she needs its strength. It then attacks her. Eclair remembers Cry's warning and is locked in her room. Her father talks to Rodan about Eclair's purchase, and when Eclair's transformation worsens, Rodan prepares for battle to remove the mask without harming her. Back at home, Arnold and his team celebrate their profit from selling the mask. Citri and Liz confront them, revealing the drinks they consumed were poisoned and offering an antidote for a high price. Arnold's team collapses, and Arnold gets angry. Later, Cry apologizes to Rodan for the chaos, asking if he has the mask. Rodan hands it over, and Cry's excited, but Rodan warns him about its unpredictability. The mask speaks, judging Cry unworthy, and Cry wonders if it's the legendary mask he sought. He asks Eclair if he should keep it, and she admits pursuing it was a mistake. Cry thanks her and invites her for cake, but later reflects on the mask's reaction to Eclair, considering stepping away from everything.